All right, now I'm going to talk about swim baits, particularly for smallmouths. Definitely a great bait for largemouths as well. But I do a lot of smallmouth fishing back home, and swim baits, there's something about them. They're super, super natural. It's probably the closest looking thing you can throw to what they're actually eating as far as minnows and small panfish go. And they just catch big fish. It doesn't matter if you're throwing a 2-inch swim bait or a 12-inch swim bait. Most of my biggest smallmouths I've ever caught have been on a swim bait. Now, with that hair jig, you'll catch fish on that, but you'll catch everyone on it, you know what I mean? You'll catch 10-inchers, you'll catch 6-pounders. When you get into the swim baits, you're gonna start to see definitely a better average size of fish is gonna go up quite a bit. And you can definitely catch some of the biggest fish out of the schools on swim baits. Day in and day out, this is my #1 swim bait rig for smallmouths. It's going to consist of typically a 1/4 to a 1/2 ounce swim bait head with I throw a 4-inch. It's actually made by Daiwa, but they don't sell them here. So it's basically a Kitech Easy Shiner. If you guys are familiar with Kitech at all, that's my favorite day in and day out swim bait for smallmouths. You'll catch 2-pounders, 7-pounders, the whole gamut on this bait. And I'm throwing that on a fairly soft rod for what I'm doing. A lot of that goes back to a lot of stuff Ike was talking about. Anytime I'm fishing a moving bait, I prefer a softer rod just to let that fish get it. This is a 7.5-foot medium action rod. It's pretty light, you know, a lot of guys might throw it on a medium heavy or heavy rod, but, and then day in and day out, usually 15-pound fluorocarbon is what I'm throwing on this. That way, like I said, I'm fishing this on the bottom a lot. Most of our smallmouth places have zebra mussels. It just destroys your line. If you try fishing with anything less than that, you're gonna have some break-off issues. And even with 15, I'm constantly checking my line every few casts. You know, that first 5-6 inches of the line is what you really got to pay attention to. I'm sure you guys, all your lakes pretty much got zebra mussels, or most of your smallmouth fisheries are zebra mussels, yeah. So really pay attention to that line, retie, retie, retie. If there's a little nick in there, just retie, just because you never know what's going to bite on the next cast. It takes you a little time, but we're throwing this on straight fluoro too, no leaders or nothing, so not a big deal if you got to retie 20, 30, 40 times in a day. And with the 15-pound, I'm running just a basic polymer knot on there, nothing fancy. It's a good all-around knot for this. And that 20 is a little high. I don't think I've ever really fished one on 20 in this size. Like I said, typically 12's probably the lightest I'll fish, up to maybe 17, but 15 day in and day out's my preferred size. And a slower reel, 6.3 to 1 is what I use. Just helps me keep the rhythm of the bait. You know, if you try fishing on anything fast, you're going to really have to force yourself to slow down to keep that down there. And there's basically 2 ways I'm going to fish this. Okay, they tend to suspend a lot. Now that's a little bit different than the bottom contact deal. One thing I'll do that's kind of cool, if you can see them, like when you're fishing around, if you start noticing a lot of arcs, you know, 10, 15 feet below the boat, you know, not, you know, say you're in 20, 30 feet of water and you start seeing a lot of arcs 10 feet, 15 feet below the boat, you know, everything else we fish, you want it to drop straight. You cast it out there and you let line out and let it fall straight to the bottom. But when those fish get suspended like that, I'll actually take it, throw it out there, click my bail over right away and hold my rod tip up, keeping like a bow in the line so it's semi-taut, and that bait, rather than just fall right through those fish, you know, you don't know exactly where they are. They're suspended smallmouths. They're literally constantly on the move. It's not like you mark a waypoint and they're sitting there. They're just swimming. They're hunting. I'll throw that bait out there, click it over, and hold my rod tip up, and you'll get a feel for it after you do it and kind of count down to where you want your bait. But when you keep the tension on your rod, you got a soft bow in your line, it'll actually, rather than your bait just falling head first straight down to the bottom like it does on slack, that little bit of tension will actually make it pendulum, and that bait will just kind of swing slow through the water column rather than just falling straight down like a rock. And it just really increases your bite window, you know. when you got a little bit of tension on there, that bait will just, and with this little boot tail on there and that weight, that thing's kicking the whole time as it's falling. And that's a great way to pick off suspended fish. And if you can get your count down right, you just got to experiment with it with your head size and your count. But it's pretty basic. Throw it out there. I'll let a pendulum swing and I'll count it. You know, start with with say a 3/8 ounce head and a little 4-inch bait like this, maybe a 3 count or so. I'm about 10 feet. If my fish are down 10 feet, I'll just click over right then and just slow, steady wind it right back to the boat, keeping it at that 10-foot level. You know, if you got to get it down a little further, maybe 4 or 5 count. And at the same time, remember they will come up. You can fish a bait below smallmouth. You cannot fish a bait above smallmouth. It doesn't matter where they're at. Their instinct is to go up. They're very visual predators. They will hit a 14-inch bait.
I hope you enjoyed the preview clip, and for more like that and the entire collection, subscribe to the Bass University TV. And if you want the tackle that you see on there, I want you to go to the Bass University Tackle Shop, powered by Tackle Warehouse, and click right here, and it's all at your fingertips.
Welcome to Bass University TV, an online video training course where you'll learn champion bass fishing techniques from pro anglers Pete Gluzek, Mike Iaconelli, and their talented special guests. From on the water to in the classroom, you'll learn sound techniques and strong fundamental bass fishing skills. Watch hours of video content on multiple topics at your own pace for a low monthly fee. Cancel at any time. Information is power in the sport of fishing, so learn from the very best. Subscribe to Bass University TV today.